All right, guys. First, I want to thank you both for what you guys have done for Jorie and our family. And I'm gonna have y'all talk a little bit about what your backgrounds are and what you're doing with Jorie. But I want to start it off by saying it's been really an amazing experience that Matterhorn has stepped in and helped us, and we don't take that for granted. We're super blessed. And I think we've got the A team here, so we appreciate all that you guys have done for us. We really do. So can we kick off by, Tom, you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you're at today?
Yeah, no, definitely. Hey, Chris, thanks for having us here. Nate and I and the Matterhorn team, we're excited to be here at the health conference. So my background, Nate's is very different, and it's a great blend, I would say.
Yeah, this may take a while to hear Nate's background, but anyway, yeah. Well, that's all right.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm short and sweet. But yeah, my background is, Wall Street background. Even though born and raised in California, went to New York, worked at bulge bracket and mid-market banks, everywhere from Citigroup to Deutsche Bank, and then really started to focus in healthcare, at a boutique shop in M&A, and just loved the industry, loved everything about it. I mean, case in point, Jorie, the team here, you say family, that's how we really feel.
Yeah.
And so anyway, while I was at a bulge bracket firm, really saw that moving, past being a transactional banker to a relationship banker, that's where Nate and I really connected. Sure. And that's what we're doing here in terms of background. So yeah, we've worked, healthcare services and technology, kind of anything you can think of in this space. And it's been a joy working with you, Sal, and the team at Jorie, and really helping your clients and help introducing your technology,
Sure.
In this pivotal point in healthcare.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it because it's funny. We were always a little bit shy and timid about this experience because you hear horror stories. And even with hiring the people that you hire, the whole thing around mergers and acquisitions, you hear these things, but with Matterhorn, I mean, you guys have stepped in and you're just offering it differently in our eyes than some of the groups that we've worked with in the past. So we like that concierge service that you guys seem to offer that we didn't really think we'd ever be able to get, quite honestly. So.
Well, thank you. Well, let's move on to Nate. And that's much more interesting than the
Nate,
Wall Street.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
Should I go through all 49 years in healthcare?
Yes, do.
Actually, I was the first marketing person hired at Hospital Corporation of America back in 1970s. So I was there in the beginning of time.
Yeah, you were. You had to be like 2 years old when you started there.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I wasn't. And then I went on to be the marketing and strategic planning executive for what is now Tenet, what was formerly National Medical Enterprises. I've been in the imaging business, and then I went on my own doing consulting, and I've consulted in almost every state, large physician groups, small physician groups, lots of health systems. I'm in the middle of my fall speaking tour to state hospital associations and others. So Tom's a transaction guy and I'm the healthcare guy. So that's how it works.
That's why you know so damn much about healthcare. I get it now. I get it.
Yeah. I've been to Henrik too.
Yeah. Nice. So with that, Nate, let's just jump right in. So when you guys started looking at Jorie and you looked into what we did and do, and, I know there's a lot of buzz out there about AI. Everything has an AI attachment. What did you see in Jorie that you felt like was a little different than most AI companies out there?
So let's start with the problem. The problem is that there's no good news for health systems.
Sure.
And they need to cut expenses, and their revenue cycle isn't functioning right. So the best thing and the most appropriate application of AI right now, in my opinion, is in the revenue cycle.
Sure.
So Tom actually introduced us to Jorie, and the truth is, and I got in trouble for this, because I do know everyone in healthcare.
I think I know where this story is going.
We know where this is.
I knew one of your clients and then was introduced to their head of revenue cycle and checked you out.
Yeah.
And they said, you guys are the real deal. And that's what sold me.
Nice. Well, I do remember that, but it's funny, early on after I'd met you and had interactions with you guys, I realized, and I think even Tom said it, is if you get the NATE approval, then you're in good shape. And so I was a little bit on pins and needles till I finally realized that you were gonna, you felt like we were what we said we were. So I felt like we got a big stamp of approval there.
Yeah, I don't approve of much.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, Chris, you hinted at this, but I mean, the industry is just full of point solutions, full of buzz and everything. And then you even have the media now hitting that AI is not working and everything. Yeah. And I would say, when I try to take my industry thoughts from NATE as opposed to equity research. Sell side equity research. And really, like, if you can apply advanced automation and AI outside of the clinical, but in, things that are not, client or not patient facing immediately at first, and have those wins like what Jorie's doing, that's where the disruption, that's where the value is really in, whether you're, a small eye care practice to a, academic medical center, like that's, and we'd seen a lot of buzz, and we still see, sponsors saying, hey, we have this AI revenue cycle company, and then we diligence and kind of look at them, and they're a dime a dozen and don't offer the value.
Yeah, right. So, well, so where do you see the market going from your perspective on deals? Where do you see the market going with healthcare and AI and some of the mergers that are happening? How do you see the landscape of the deal opportunity in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, and Nate opine on this as well too. But I mean, we were just speaking with a sponsor the other day, and there's the people who are going to sit on the sidelines and wait for things to evolve, which does feel a lot like, to be candid, in like hospitals and health systems, a lot of people are, hey, we'll wait and we'll adopt it later. But there are a lot of sponsors and private equity and strategics who are, let's wait till the best mousetrap is built. Yeah. But then there are the ones that are progressive and the people that realize this is an inflection point. And you hear this when you speak with tech leaders, and you understand, like, you need to lean in now, and this is the time to capture that value, because as like, an organization like Jorie, you have the name reference, the confidence, you have the clients that support you, and as that land and expand, you are, in that market to capture it when people do that flip and understand that they really need to do that. So like deals and deal volume, I see the progressive leaders, whether they're strategic or financial, those are the ones who are going to be able to pay and foresee that strategic and future value. Right. And that's where I think the deals are going to go. And we're going to see some market transactions over the next, I'd say 3 to 9 months max. Nice. Some real game changers. Nice.
Nice. Well, we're glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So Nate, you've run into headwinds in getting, I know you're passionate about helping the healthcare systems that are terribly broken today. You've seen it all. You've seen the headwinds. How do we address those headwinds? Because we've even hit a few of them together over the last year. So, what is it going to take to get some of these systems kind of off the dime to actually embrace AI?
So I'm friends with a lot of CEOs and CFOs and talk frequently with folks about what's going on in the industry. I always bring up Jorie. And when I bring up AI, the first thing they say is, oh, that's one of 600 AI solutions that we saw this week.
Right.
And so the question is, how do you break out of the clutter? I think you've got a great product. I think you have some prestigious clients. This is a very kind of fickle business. And so the key is we need to keep trying to get Jorie recognized by some of the more well-known health systems so that they can demonstrate your abilities.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I'm focused.
Sure. How do you see the marketplace adapting to AI as far as healthcare systems from, we've worked with you also on where do we engage the client? How do we step in? What do we do? We've talked about going in and training some of their revenue cycle folks to be certified on AI. I mean, is there a certain inflection point, or is there a certain process that is going to help us get into the door based on your experience?
Yeah, I think AI is going to, Scribe is the classic example, the AI Scribe, like it's everywhere now.
Yeah.
And so there's adoption there. As far as the revenue cycle, a lot of people went and did contracting for bodies.
Yeah.
Offshore or onshore to provide a lower cost revenue cycle. And so there's a shift that's just starting to occur. in the AI space.
Yeah.
And so we just got to keep plugging and trying to demonstrate that we've got a superior product here.
Sure. Do you feel like we're making headway on at least some? I remember back a year ago, 2 years ago, we'd go and talk to a hospital system about AI, and we were hoping they didn't call security on us and ask us to leave. It does seem like a year ago there began to be some loosening and accepting. I mean, do you see that just continuing? Is it time? Is it
So when you look at vendors like, let's say, EMRs, you can either spend the money and buy Epic, and if it doesn't work or your doctors get mad, you blame Epic, or you can buy some other brand, and if it doesn't work, they'll blame you.
Yeah.
So I think what everyone's looking for is kind of a name brand in the market, and it takes time to get that adoption and that reputation. But I think it's just a matter. We're very slow in healthcare.
Sure.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is within healthcare systems, there's all these silos. Now there's an AI silo and an IT silo, HR and legal. And nobody's able to look over and say, okay, what's the best thing that we should do? Everybody cut it out and let's do it.
Yeah.
So decisions are very slow. When I negotiate with health systems, it's like Hollywood squares on the screen. We have so many people that you have to deal with, and it drives you crazy. But so we're slow, but eventually people recognize quality.
Yeah, we'll get there. Tom, so consolidation of the market. There's obviously what you guys are doing for us and kind of us going to market. Looking at a lot of the different entities that are talking to us, whether it's other technology companies, PE firms, private banking. How do you see the consolidation of healthcare going over the next year as it relates to not only AI, but just healthcare in general? What do you see the consolidation? Is there going to be a consolidation kind of effort that we'll see going forward in 2026?
Yeah, that's really what we're seeing right now. There's a lot. We can go healthcare in general with technology and everything here, but I'm going to say that the players there, we know the major players, all of us know the major players in the space, and they're looking to be a comprehensive solution.
Sure.
Now, the nice thing about Jorie, versus the competitors, is the end-to-end element.
Yeah.
And, the way that you can, that you layer over existing solutions. Not a lot of these other ones are. They're point solutions, or they go from automation to manual and everything there. But really, again, a lot of the things you're offering, and again, expanding into other areas, that's where people are looking to do, as we kind of say, as we speak in the family of Jorie, we're looking at, this is an operating system that everybody works from. And I think people are trying to get there. The nice thing about this conference here is you're going to be introducing new technology.
Yeah,
again, how you're moving forward, and you're still, steps and steps ahead of the competitors.
Sure.
But that's what people are looking for. Again, people are trying to build out. The other thing we're going to see a lot of is people buying client lists.
Yeah.
We see that a lot. We see a lot of different things here, buying contracts.
Yeah.
Because as you compare, like Nate said, your existing agreements, your existing vendors, and other elements there.
Sure.
I do want to say one interesting thing about healthcare. And if you're not in healthcare, it's not that interesting, but for us it is. I'd say 10 to 15 years ago, these large health systems, a lot of them in RCM, they thought it would always be the way it is, the people intense and everything here. So a lot of them went long-term and did long-term agreements to get equity with, these big, legacy providers in the RCM space.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who we think should be adopting and would benefit the most from this, they have locked in agreements. And it goes back to that silo that Nate said, is when you're looking from that perch,
right?
There's, obviously with Jorie, if you pick one small pilot, there's immediate returns that you could deploy across the health systems. But there's still these competing priorities of well, hey, we have interest in this company. Hopefully they're going to get there. So that's another opportunity, we need to look at.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But there's one other thing. There's this knucklehead idea that you don't need to merge or acquire a small failing hospital. Health system shouldn't do that anymore because it'll raise prices. Well, the fact is, yes, it will raise prices because they're if you ever do a contract with them and Anthem or United Healthcare or somebody, you'll find that they get the worst prices. So what's happening is there's about 600 rural hospitals that are really struggling right now, probably more as a result of the new beautiful bill.
Sure.
And one of the options, or one of the only solutions that they have right now, is to move their revenue cycle to AI.
Yeah.
Medicare Advantage is killing them.
Yep.
Eligibility is impossible. And so a really strong market is going to continue to be the rural markets that can't find the people to handle the revenues, the complexities of the revenue cycle.
Sure.
And on that, I mean, that's the rural driver. And then the urban is like, you look in California, where we're from.
Right.
I mean, in California, you look at the healthcare wages, like the minimum you can pay is $25 an hour.
Yeah.
So you think about that with RCM, we've seen a number of health systems like deploy to, some move to Optum and some move to out of state opportunities.
Sure.
So.
Well, rural market is it's near and dear to our heart, and I know it is yours as well, Nate, in particular. So we've heard that in Texas, for instance, they're getting some money set aside specifically for rural hospital systems. Have you seen that in the past? Has that been promised in the past and not delivered? Or what are your thoughts?
The federal stuff is not going to help. I'm in the middle right now of negotiating radiology contracts and anesthesia contracts. You can't have a hospital if you don't have emergency room doctors, anesthesiologists, and radiologists. The amount of stipend that they are demanding is outrageous. So just to find the manpower or woman power to staff the infrastructure of a rural hospital is going to be too expensive. And these one-time hits or whatever isn't going to matter. There's been some research on rural hospitals. The primary reason that they're failing is because of two things: Medicare Advantage, which pays them less than Medicare and also forces their revenue cycle to work in overdrive, and the commercial insurance companies, because they're price takers and they can't get sufficient funds to cover these ever expanding costs. So the rural market is not going to be saved at all by anything other than becoming part of larger health systems, and in the short term, getting some way to become a lot more efficient in their business.
Sure. Yeah, and we originally, when we first started working with rural hospital systems, we had this fear of, because they're a community, losing staff and being us replacing staff. But in reality, it was rural hospital systems. They're struggling. They're struggling to get the staff they need, much less do this complex work that they're getting thrown at them now. So, I do feel like, once again, it's near and dear to our heart, as I know it is y'all's. But is there, so from our perspective, is there anything that we can go, and not that we have a lot of hope in the federal government, but is there anything that we can do as a company to try to influence any kind of assistance to the federal to the rural market that can get us engaged, because we know we can save these hospitals from closing their doors? So
first step would be to try to go to the rural hospitals themselves, which I know I spoke at the rural meeting in Wisconsin, and one of your people were there, but there's a big AHA conference on rural hospitals. It would be good to be in to teach them about it. I don't have a lot of hope for convincing the federal government to change their tune, but just throwing money at hospitals, it never worked, and it never will work. Yeah. Agreed. All right, so I want to give an opportunity for you guys to talk about Matterhorn, because we know what Matterhorn has done for us and what you are doing for us. But tell me, from both of y'all's perspective, what makes y'all different? What makes y'all different than the guys out there that some of the companies are afraid to even hire? Why is Matterhorn different? Because we're not tactical; we're strategic. One of the things that we did a couple of years ago was we recommended that a client walk away from an exceptionally profitable deal for us because it wasn't good for them. Sure. And so our approach is we want to be true advisors. And that's the most important thing for us, is to give them healthcare knowledge and transaction knowledge. And then, of course, I'm horrible at this, but Tom's great at it, actually organizing and running the transaction. So that's how I see that we're different.
Yeah, well, I mean, so coming from bulge bracket, and I've been at boutique, mid-market, and bulge bracket, like the real experience I had during COVID, I evaluated an M&A opportunity in an industry I don't work in. And so I did what our clients do. I went out and I did a bake-off or a beauty contest.
Yeah.
And so I hired in this industry, I went out and I interviewed 5 banks, met with all these, all their leads, all their whole team, talked to them about the transaction. It was a $40 to $50 million deal. It's a big, thing for me, as an investor. And ran that process, selected, the best team with the best credentials, everything like that. And, we went through this process, and going through the process, everything from, quality of earnings, meetings with management, working with the bankers, I realized, like, even what I saw on Wall Street is you come in with a senior banker and then they disappear. And so I just, just my whole life and everything I've been in, you always go 100%. Like even in banking, like our client is our ultimate authority. Yeah. And that actually in a lot of, organizations, if you put client first, that's a challenge.
Right.
Right. And I know working with you guys,
it's counterintuitive to a lot of groups, right?
Yeah, you would just think. And so anyway, so I saw that from that experience where I met with the team, had all this like great meetings, everything at the beginning. We went through the process, and junior or mid-level staff were on there who didn't know or have experience or anything there on the transaction. Right. And so from there, I said, what am I doing here? I'm going to be at some bulge bracket, maybe move into, some executive role or mid-management level. Let's work with clients. Let's do the things that I expected. And, that's, when Nate and I got together and, started doing transactions, it's been great ever since. Cause our ultimate goal, obviously, we want to keep the lights, get paid to keep our lights on. But at the end of the day, our goal is for Jorie and our other clients to be featured on our website. Just, hey, thank you guys. Here's what you've done. And that's the ultimate thing at the end of the day is to give that level of service.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in the same position. We're not going to last very long if we have a few hospitals that we go out with and we start getting our name, tarnished. That's not going to help us at all. So we've got to be the best we can be for our hospitals every single time. So, how did you and Nate meet? How did you guys get together?
I guess through a deal. Yeah, I mean,
it was an Illinois deal. It was closer to Missouri, but it was in Illinois.
Yeah,
right. So. And I recommended the hospital be sold, and they get an investment banker. And Tom was in a boutique investment banking firm, and they assigned that junior level guy.
The junior level guy.
The transaction, and that was how we met.
Yeah, so, nice. Was there a defining moment where y'all kind of threw your hands up and said, "Let's go do this together"? I mean, was there a particular defining moment?
Well, I have mine, but do you have one? Or
you can go first.
I want to hear yours.
Sounds like
first.
It's going to change.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I mean, mine was being on Wall Street, like in New York, you're doing all that, and it's great is when you start your career to get your your toolkit in banking, to be able to model and all that other stuff. But when it comes to like where the industry really is, it's really like equity research. It's all kind of buzzwords. Yeah. And so I've always thought of like, when I think of Nate, I think of like, that's candor, being frank, what's really going on in life. Yes. And that's more important to me than saying value-based care. Right. Or, health plans are the solution. Or, everybody needs to be Kaiser. Everybody needs to be Kaiser. Yeah. And it depends market to market. And a lot of people don't need to be Kaiser. Right. We'll just say that. Right. And so when I was there looking at what we were doing and everything there, it was just, can we find, transaction and consulting expertise and banking execution? And then again, focused on the client first. Can we do something like that and build? And that's when I reached out to Nate. So.
All right, Nate, let's hear the other side.
So actually the other side is that one day Tom called me and he said, do you want to start an investment bank? And I said, it sounds good. But we probably need a client. And I hung up the phone, and a very large oncology group, and I knew the physician who founded it, called up and said, we're thinking of looking at alternatives. do you know anybody who
Nice.
could help us?
You said, yes, I do.
And I thought, it's like divine intervention.
Yeah,
So
amen.
that's
Amen.
kind of how it started. And we were very successful with our first client. They're very happy.
That's great.
So, you know, when you do physician transactions like I do representing health systems, if you rip off the doctor, if you try to get the best possible deal you can, it's going to come back and haunt you.
Yes.
And
yes.
so I've been doing transactions for like 30 years with doctors. And so I learned that. And that's kind of how we apply. Well, we don't want to just do a transaction and get, you know, one of those little emblems.
Right.
We want to.
Right.
Hey, we all like those lucite.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of us really likes lucite.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I mean, we're, you know, the providers are near and dear to our heart. And I think that's one of the many things that we saw in you guys right off the bat that made us really comfortable that y'all were the ones that we really wanted to be on our side, because y'all did have that passion for rural hospitals, for physicians, and not, you know, to your point, I mean, physicians, I feel like, are pretty vulnerable in a lot of cases, get taken advantage of, and they're the ones that are out there, you know, doing the work. So, yeah. Well, I do want to thank y'all again.
Thank you.
You know, we feel very blessed and honored to have Matterhorn representing us. We know that you guys have done a lot of work, both strategic and then on the deal basis. And we are really, really blessed to have you as our team members. We really are. I would say everybody, I've recommended you guys to a few different groups, and I think they would all do well by bringing on Matterhorn onto the team. So we appreciate you.
We're always happy to help, and we appreciate the opportunity to work with you guys. It's been interesting. It's like a family.
It is. It sure is. No, thank you guys. Well, thank y'all for being here at Health with us. We appreciate it.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris.